Most modern men are raised on a quiet but powerful lie: if you are nice enough, she will choose you. Be polite, be agreeable, be available. Never upset her, never challenge her. Put her needs first, suppress your own, and somehow attraction will magically grow. This belief sounds good, it feels moral, it feels safe. And that is exactly why it fails. Niceness is not the same as attraction. Niceness is about approval, attraction is about polarity. When a man confuses the two, he slowly erases the very qualities that make him desirable. He becomes predictable, accommodating, and emotionally dependent on her response. And while she may appreciate him, respect him, even like him, attraction quietly fades. Attraction is not created by trying to be liked. It is created when a man is grounded in who he is, regardless of whether he is liked or not. A man who is always nice is often a man who is afraid of losing her, afraid of conflict, afraid of disapproval. That fear leaks into his behavior. He over-explains. He apologizes unnecessarily. He avoids saying what he really thinks. He sacrifices his standards just to keep the peace. And women sense this immediately, even if they can't explain it logically. When a man is nice because he wants something in return, validation, affection, reassurance, his niceness becomes transactional. It stops being genuine and starts being a strategy. And strategies rooted in insecurity never work long term. They create imbalance. The woman becomes the emotional authority, and the man becomes the one waiting, adjusting, and reacting. This is why many men say, "I did everything right," and she still lost interest. They were polite. They were supportive. They were always there. But what they were missing was presence, direction, and self-respect. They were focused on pleasing instead of leading, on accommodating instead of standing firm, on being chosen instead of choosing. Real attraction grows when a man has boundaries. Boundaries create shape. Shape creates polarity. Polarity creates desire. When a man says no calmly, when he holds his standards without anger, when he is willing to walk away from what doesn't align with him, something shifts. He stops trying to earn attraction and starts embodying it. Being kind is powerful. Being respectful is essential. But being nice at the cost of your spine is destructive. Women don't want a man who disappears into the relationship. They want a man who remains whole within it. A man who has a life, a mission, a direction that does not revolve around her approval. That independence is not cold, it's stabilizing. It allows her to relax because she's not carrying the emotional weight of the relationship alone. Many men fear that if they stop being nice, they will become rude, selfish, or uncaring. This is another illusion. Strength is not cruelty. Confidence is not arrogance. Boundaries are not punishment. In fact, when a man stops performing niceness and starts acting from self-respect, his kindness becomes real. It's no longer desperate. It's no longer conditional. It's grounded. The biggest shift happens when a man realizes this attraction does not respond to how much you give. It responds to who you are while you give. If you give from fear, you lose power. If you give from abundance, you create connection. And abundance comes from knowing that you are complete with or without her. The moment you stop trying to be nice and start being solid, everything changes. Modern men are told another dangerous lie, that emotional availability means emotional exposure. That to build attraction and connection, they must constantly share their feelings, explain their thoughts, reassure her endlessly, and place their emotional world entirely in her hands. On the surface, this sounds mature and healthy. In reality, when misunderstood, it destroys polarity and weakens attraction. Emotional availability does not mean emotional dependence. It does not mean oversharing every doubt, fear, insecurity, or internal struggle in real time. Yet many men believe that if they just open up more, talk more, and reveal everything, she will feel closer and choose them. What actually happens is the opposite. The relationship becomes heavy, the mystery disappears, and the masculine frame collapses. A man who emotionally overexposes himself often does, so not from strength, but from anxiety. He feels the need to be understood immediately. He wants reassurance. He wants certainty. So he explains himself, justifies himself, and emotionally unloads before the relationship has the structure to hold it. Instead of presence, he brings pressure. Instead of connection, he brings responsibility. Attraction requires emotional safety, not emotional flooding. When a man pours out everything he feels without grounding, The woman unconsciously feels she must now manage his emotions. She becomes the emotional regulator. And once that dynamic forms, desire fades. A woman does not want to mother her partner. She wants to feel led, grounded, and emotionally secure in his presence. This does not mean men should be emotionally closed or distant. Emotional strength is not emotional silence. True availability means you can feel deeply without being overwhelmed by your feelings. It means you can experience emotion without dumping it. It means you can share selectively, consciously, and at the right time without losing your center. Many men confuse vulnerability with collapse. They think being vulnerable means breaking down, seeking validation, or exposing uncertainty constantly. But real vulnerability is controlled openness. It is knowing when to speak and when to hold. It is choosing honesty without emotional chaos. It is expressing truth without needing the other person to fix you. When a man is emotionally centered, he doesn't rush to explain himself. He doesn't chase reassurance. He doesn't panic when there is silence or distance. He trusts himself. That calm self-trust is deeply attractive because it signals inner stability, and inner stability creates emotional safety. Overexposure often shows up in constant texting, long emotional messages, repeated reassurance seeking, and over-communication. The man feels closer, but she feels smothered. He feels honest, but she feels overwhelmed. And because attraction operates largely on the unconscious level, she may not know why her feelings change, only that they do. A man who understands emotional availability knows how to contain his emotions. Containment is not suppression, it is mastery. It is the ability to feel without being controlled, to share without spilling, to connect without collapsing into the other person. When a man stops overexposing emotionally, something powerful happens. His presence becomes grounding. His words carry weight. His silence feels confident instead of insecure. He no longer seeks connection through explanation. He creates it through stability. Women respond to emotional strength far more than emotional quantity. They are drawn to men who are open, but not needy, expressive, but not unstable, present, but not dependent. Emotional availability works when it flows from self-sufficiency, not from fear of loss. The moment a man learns to be emotionally present without emotionally unloading, attraction begins to rebuild naturally. Many modern men believe another powerful lie: if I just try harder, she will eventually choose me. More text, more effort, more availability, more explaining, more patience. They believe attraction works like a negotiation. If they put in enough energy, consistency, and persistence, feelings will change. But attraction does not respond to pressure. It responds to presence. Chasing harder does not create desire. It signals insecurity. When a man starts chasing, his focus shifts away from his own life and onto her reactions. He watches her tone. He analyzes response times. He adjusts his behavior based on her mood. Slowly, he stops leading and starts reacting. And the more he reacts, the less attractive he becomes. Not because effort is bad, but because neediness is loud. Even when it's silent, effort is valuable only when it flows from abundance. When effort comes from fear, fear of losing her, fear of being replaced, fear of not being enough, it becomes desperate. Desperation collapses polarity. It puts her in the position of chooser and you in the position of performer. And attraction cannot grow where respect quietly erodes. Many men don't realize that chasing is often disguised as being caring. They check in constantly. They offer help that wasn't asked for. They explain themselves repeatedly. They try to smooth every emotional bump. But what they're really doing is trying to control the outcome. They're trying to manage her feelings so they don't have to face uncertainty. And uncertainty is exactly where attraction lies. A man who is grounded does not chase clarity. He allows space. He trusts that if something is aligned, it will move forward naturally. If it doesn't, he doesn't force it. He redirects his energy. That self-direction is powerful. It signals confidence. It signals self-worth. It signals that his life does not pause while waiting for someone else to decide. Chasing also removes mystery. When everything is explained, offered, and available immediately, there is no tension, no curiosity, no polarity. Attraction thrives in the space between people, not in emotional overcrowding. When a man gives too much too fast, he short-circuits the natural progression of connection. Another mistake men make is believing that consistency alone creates attraction. Consistency builds trust, but trust without polarity creates friendship, not desire. Desire requires challenge, direction, a sense that the man is moving forward with or without approval. When a man chases, he communicates the opposite. I need you to validate my direction. Women don't respond to being pursued relentlessly. They respond to men who choose them, not men who beg to be chosen. A man who knows his worth doesn't chase what isn't choosing him back. He doesn't punish. He doesn't withdraw dramatically. He simply continues forward. This is not coldness. This is clarity. The moment a man stops chasing, he regains his center. His energy returns inward. His focus shifts back to his purpose, his growth, his life. And paradoxically, that's when attraction either has a chance to grow or reveals that it was never there to begin with. Chasing is exhausting because it was never meant to work. Attraction begins when you stop running after it and start standing firmly in who you are. Modern men are taught subtly but constantly that love must be earned. That before a woman can choose you, you must first prove yourself worthy. Show her your value. Demonstrate your usefulness. Provide, protect, impress, reassure. This belief shapes how many men approach dating, and it quietly destroys attraction before it has a chance to grow. When a man believes love must be earned, he approaches relationships like a job interview. He performs instead of connects. He gives instead of chooses. He overfunctions emotionally, financially, and psychologically, hoping that his effort will convince her to stay. But attraction is not a reward for good behavior. It is a response to presence, confidence, and self-respect. The moment a man starts trying to prove his worth, he has already placed himself beneath her. He has unconsciously accepted a lower position in the dynamic. She becomes the evaluator. He becomes the applicant. And in that frame, attraction struggles to survive. Not because the man lacks value, but because he is communicating that he doesn't believe his value is already enough. Men who try to earn love often overgive. They compromise their boundaries. They tolerate behavior that doesn't align with their standards. They avoid conflict. They silence their truth. They do favors they don't want to do. They stay when they should walk away. And all of this is done with a quiet hope, if I give enough, she will choose me. But what actually happens is resentment builds, respect fades, and the man slowly loses connection with himself. A woman does not feel safe with a man who is constantly proving. Because proving is unstable, it means his sense of worth depends on her reaction. If she approves, he feels good. If she pulls away, he collapses. That emotional dependence creates pressure, not attraction. It places responsibility on her to validate him, and no relationship can thrive under that weight. A man who understands his value does not negotiate for love. He does not perform for approval. He shows up as himself with standards, direction, and boundaries. He offers connection, not compensation. He knows that attraction is mutual or it is nothing. And if it is not mutual, he does not try to force it into existence. This doesn't mean he stops giving. It means he gives from abundance, not insecurity. He contributes because he chooses to, not because he is afraid to lose. That difference is felt immediately. One feels grounded, the other feels needy. The lie of earning love also traps men in unhealthy dynamics. They stay longer than they should. They try harder when they should step back. They confuse endurance with loyalty. And they sacrifice self-respect in the name of commitment. But no relationship built on self-abandonment leads to fulfillment. True masculine presence comes from knowing this: your worth is not determined by how much you give, but by how firmly you stand in who you are. When a man knows his value, he does not chase validation. He allows attraction to respond to him naturally. He invites, he does not convince. Love is not something you earn by diminishing yourself. It is something that meets you when you show up whole. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth is the moment attraction finally has space to exist. Modern men are often told that harmony is the goal of a relationship. Don't argue. Don't disagree. Don't upset her. Keep things smooth, calm, and pleasant at all costs. On the surface, this sounds reasonable, but beneath it lies a destructive belief that avoiding conflict keeps the relationship safe. In reality, avoiding conflict slowly kills respect, and without respect, attraction cannot survive. When a man avoids conflict, He is not choosing peace. He is choosing silence over truth. He suppresses his opinions. He swallows his discomfort. He ignores his boundaries. And each time he does this, he sends a quiet message, not to her, but to himself, that his needs matter less. Over time, this self-betrayal builds resentment, even if he never speaks it out loud. Conflict is not the enemy of relationships. Unexpressed truth is. Healthy conflict is how two people discover each other's boundaries, values, and limits. It is how clarity is created. When a man refuses to engage in conflict, he removes his edge. He becomes emotionally flat, agreeable, predictable. And while that may feel safe in the short term, it erodes polarity in the long term. Attraction requires tension, not chaos, but contrast, strength meeting strength, truth meeting truth. A man who avoids conflict often believes he is being kind. But kindness without honesty is not kindness. It is fear wearing a polite mask, fear of losing her, fear of disapproval, fear of being seen as difficult. And fear-based behavior is always felt, even when it is never spoken. Women do not lose attraction because a man has standards. They lose attraction when a man hides them. When a man never challenges, never pushes back, never says, "This doesn't work for me," he stops being a grounded presence. He becomes emotionally slippery, unclear. And that lack of clarity creates insecurity, not safety. A woman cannot trust a man who does not trust himself enough to speak his truth. Avoided conflict also turns into passive aggression, sarcasm, withdrawal, emotional distance, sudden coldness. These behaviors confuse and damage connection far more than honest disagreement ever could. What was meant to protect the relationship ends up poisoning it. Masculine leadership in relationships is not dominance, it is direction. And direction requires the courage to say uncomfortable things calmly and respectfully, to hold your frame even when it creates tension, to stay grounded when emotions rise instead of disappearing or exploding. This kind of presence builds respect even when there is disagreement. A man who can engage in conflict without losing control sends a powerful signal: I am stable, I can handle discomfort, I do not abandon myself or you when things get difficult. That stability is deeply attractive. It creates emotional safety because it shows maturity, not compliance. Avoiding conflict also prevents growth. Relationships deepen through friction, not avoidance, through honest conversations, through moments where differences are revealed and navigated. Without that, the relationship stays shallow, pleasant, but empty. When a man learns to stop avoiding conflict, something shifts. His voice strengthens, his boundaries become clear, his presence becomes solid. And even if the relationship does not survive that honesty, he does. Because he is no longer sacrificing himself to keep something that was already slipping away. Peace without truth is not peace. Respect is built when you are willing to stand in your truth, even when it creates tension. The final and most damaging lie modern men believe is that a woman is the source of their fulfillment. That if they can just find the right relationship, everything else in their life will finally feel complete. Purpose will appear. Confidence will rise. Motivation will return. This belief doesn't just weaken attraction. It places an impossible burden on the relationship itself. When a man looks to a woman to complete him, he hands over his center. His emotional stability becomes dependent on her mood. His sense of worth becomes tied to her attention. His direction begins to orbit around her approval. And while this may feel like devotion, it is experienced as pressure. No woman wants to be responsible for a man's sense of meaning. Attraction thrives when two whole individuals choose each other, not when one person is trying to fill an internal void through another. The moment a man begins seeking fulfillment through a woman, he stops leading his own life. His mission fades. His ambition softens. His presence loses weight. And unconsciously, she feels that shift. Many men don't realize how subtly this happens. They cancel plans to be available. They neglect their work, health, and friendships. They over-prioritize the relationship. They stop challenging themselves. And slowly, the relationship becomes the center of their world instead of one part of it. What they believe is commitment is actually self-abandonment. Women are drawn to men with direction, with purpose, with something they are moving toward. Not because ambition is impressive, but because direction creates gravity. A man who is fulfilled by his path brings energy into the relationship instead of taking it out. He doesn't need her to make him whole. He invites her to walk alongside him. When a man depends on a woman for fulfillment, he becomes emotionally fragile. Any distance feels threatening. Any change feels destabilizing. Any disagreement feels like rejection. And that emotional volatility slowly erodes attraction, even if love is present. Fulfillment is not found in another person. It is built through discipline, purpose, challenge, growth, and self-respect. A relationship can enhance a fulfilled life, but it cannot create one. And when men reverse that order, everything begins to suffer. The most attractive men are not the ones who need love. They are the ones who are capable of it because they are already full. They don't cling. They don't chase. They don't fear being alone. They choose connection freely, not desperately. When a man becomes fulfilled within himself, his relationships change automatically. He communicates clearly. He sets boundaries calmly. He gives without losing himself. And if something ends, he doesn't collapse. He continues forward. A woman should be a complement to your life, not the foundation of it. The moment you stop looking for fulfillment in her is the moment attraction finally has room to grow.